if this is why I talk about the age of accountability and knowing right from wrong. If you, as a mature person, an adult, age of accountability, know right or wrong enough to discipline a child and say, hey, don't use profanity, don't do that, don't use that language. If you have a mind sound enough to discipline a child in reprobated behavior, why wouldn't you discipline yourself out of that variable? This is why I always say, this is why I always say, right from wrong. We all do. Because if you have that variable existent in your mind enough to tell a child, just like a loving father would your creator, don't do that. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. This is what that verse means. So when you're using profanity in the presence of somebody who wants peace, somebody with a sound mind is going to be like, wow, that's dangerous territory. If you're using that language in a common setting, if you get agitated, would you use that language towards me? So this is why I always talk about we're learning our children what we pour into them, what they become, or what they allow and accept in their life. It doesn't matter how old you are. Like I tell people, that's why the Bible verse ends. The Bible verse says, they suit up well and go into the marketplaces so you can present yourself as a righteous person. But the variable between good and evil becomes discrepancy because we allow or accept things that shouldn't be. I tell people this all the time as mature adults. Do you go to a doctor's office? But what we're entertaining things or accept their things. It says we will wax worse and implies emotional mental depravity into one's character or another person's persona. So that's what I talk about, seducing spirits. See, I relate everything I do the best of my ability to a carnal mind. A seducing spirit, someone who's talking to you in an agitated way, could seduce you to or provoke you to respond unnecessarily or pull you out of your place of peace. That's why I talk about emotional and mental witchcraft, because if someone could deplete you of yourself emotionally or mentally and pull you to another level of existence, that would mean you seduced me, you shamed me. You're requiring me to address some behavior that you should be able to control. So you lack the ability to maintain your composure. I don't think I'm better than anybody. I just know what I'm deserving of. And I deserve to be respected, dignified. And there's not a person in humanity that isn't deserving of this. And I believe that. Like I say, treat others how you want to be treated. You have to think. People get lethargic in examining and judging themselves. Like, what behaviors do I need to modify so that I bring peace to my own life or my relationships? What do I need to modify so I can groom my children? This is why they talk about, the Bible says, don't pass the seed through the fire. If you're using these variables or languages in front of your child, that's like passing them through the fire. You're creating the things that they become immune to. You can't say, hey, don't marry that person. I don't like the way he's acting. Well, why do you think there's a spiritual aspect to this? Because you will go and find complacency into the level of your perception or perspective. So, your child is not going to see the formalities of someone's behavior if you're operating in those ways. They're going to grow immune. That's why I talk about generational curses, more lifestyle and behavioral. They're going to grow immune to variables that should have set them on fire. But because they've seen those behaviors most of their life, they're going to go find someone who accepts them for the same state of existence that they're in. So if you're using profanity, you can't tell your child, hey, don't be with that person because I don't like the language they're using. I don't like how they talk to you. When you're talking to them the same way. So this is why I always say, I don't, some people are like, well, you think you're better than everybody, Miss Holier than thou. No, I don't think I'm better than anybody. I'm better than that behavior. I am more deserving to be treated with dignity and morale. I'm more deserving of being talked to like I'm nobody or nothingness. And this is why I tell you rebellion, which could be in words and deeds, the tongue is the most untamable evil. You can hurt somebody's feelings. You can destroy their day. You can destroy their spirit. You can make them lack emotional and mental growth. You know, you see this in children who are born into a very toxic or dysfunctional family unit, and they've never shown what life is. They've never been shown structure, discipline. That's why I talk about your Creator, and He will chastise and discipline His children. When we get outside the will of our Creator, or what His image is, that's what we fall away to. We fall away to our own deceptions or discrepancies, however they came into play. Maybe someone wounded your spirit. Maybe you've had a failed relationship. Maybe you've had a lot of disappointments in your life. I've had those. I've had them all. That's what gave me the skills to better myself. The wisdom that you get is like a prophet means a teacher, a counsel, someone with words of wisdom. How do you think I obtained that wisdom? Through the failures in my life. I know that don't work. I've seen those behaviors before. There's a difference between conviction and condemnation. Condemnation would be belittling someone for their bad behavior, saying you're never going to amount to nothing, you're no good, look at the way you're acting. Conviction would be, I see the despair you're under, and let me show you how to strengthen your life. But most often than not, times, a rebellious person will reject the truth, because it means they have to critique themselves, or that they're seeing the erroneous ways they're operative in. But that's what to love to somebody is, to chastise or rebuke them. Wait, your behavior is off kilt. You're not operating the way you should. You're going to take yourself into despair with those rebellious words and behaviors. You're not going to get the love that you deserve acting that way, because it's hard to love somebody who's rebellious. It's very hard. You mean to deplete you of your resources emotionally and mentally to obtain a good variable in that, in cohesiveness. So that means you're going to deplete yourself of your resources to modify. You're going to modify what you find peace in to condone someone else's bad behavior. And that's not, people are supposed to complement your life, not complicate. So this is why I've stopped dating. I've been holy for a while, and people are like, oh, you don't date, you don't do this, you don't. No, it's not that I'm not going to water myself down, deplete myself of my resources emotionally and mentally to accommodate someone in their despair. You can love people. The Holy Spirit would never have you plotting or planning the demise of another person. But we don't love their rebellious behavior. Remember, it says to open rebuke is love. Wait a minute, I don't like the way you're treating me. I don't like the way you're talking to me. If they don't want to accommodate you in your feelings or acknowledge you for the way they've made you feel, if you can't communicate that variable, then what are you? Who are you? Who are you becoming to this person that, well, wait a minute, I can't feel this way, I can't think this way, I can't talk that way, you didn't make you feel that way, that's not the way I recall it. You can't take someone's feelings away from them or their thought process. That means you're controlling their identity. So you become manipulative and cunning to that person, a controlling spirit. Wait a minute, you can't feel that way. You can't think that way. I didn't do that. I didn't say that. Well, you're too sensitive. Well, you're too this. No, I am who God created me to be, and I have feelings. I'm not a robot. I can't, if you deprive someone of their emotional or mental stature, or whether you agree with it or not, that means you're trying to control the outcome of their lives or the way they feel or their identity. And that's not what love is about. You don't control someone you love. You don't tell them how they should or shouldn't feel. You can't make someone feel the way you want them to feel or lack thereof. You can't do that. That's not healthy for anybody. You're asking them to put themselves aside for the way you want them to be. Hey, you can deny yourself, of course. Like if I get up today and I'm like, hey, I don't want to do this for you, I don't feel like doing this variable or this factor or this thing for you today. Well, my pride, that would be pride, my arrogancy. So I'm going to say, I'm going to deny myself. Okay, I know I really don't want to do this, but I'm going to do this because I love you. Because I want to make your day better. I want us to have more peace. That's what denying yourself is for the relationship that you have faith in. You will put yourself aside, your feelings aside, and say, you know what? I'm going to do it anyway because I got to be the better person. That's why it says if you're at peace with yourself, even your enemies will be at peace. Not true enemies, but enemies of God. Because when you're operating in the image of God, you can alleviate a lot of conflict in your life. You can by being the better person, saying, you know what? I don't want to, but I'm going to, you know, because you have to give. It's about give and take. Love covers a multitude of sin. You have to give what you want to receive sometimes, and it's not always what you want to do, but it's probably better for you.